banks, which are the important pillars for any economic development. With regarding financial transactions, banks maintain the record of the transactions made by the payer as well as the recipient. Banks plays an important role in transferring the funds from one person to other person, payer to the payee. So also the banks plays an important role of mobilizing deposits and advancing loans to the needy people, so that the money, idle money, is used for development of economic activities and to earn income for the depositors. So the banks should maintain good health, means banks balance sheet or performance, financial performance should be strong enough to withstand any disturbances. So how to check the healthiness of banks? That is health check for banks. Now the regulator for banks, Reserve Bank of India, planning to supervise the health check for banks regularly, not at the year end. Earlier, the regulator, Reserve Bank of India, used to exercise the health check of banks at the year end. Now, the regulator, Reserve Bank of India, intends to supervise and monitor the healthiness of banks regularly around the year. The Reserve Bank of India has made it clear that it is not the intention of Reserve Bank to micromanage the banks. It is a duty to flag risk buildup, that it has no intention to micromanage banks, and that the Mint Street is following a very constructive approach. Now, the Reserve Bank of India made it clear that it is not willing to micromanage the banks. Banks will be at liberty to carry on their activities regularly as usual, but the supervision will be carried on by the regulator, Reserve Bank of India, and every bank regularly. What happens if a bank fails? Failure of a bank just not acceptable in India by the public, and everyone looks at RBI. So it is the responsibility of Reserve Bank of India as a regulator to ensure that the banking economy system is stable and robust. So every bank should be healthy, successful, with performance. And failure of a bank is not acceptable, not only by the regulator but also by the government or the public and economy also. Any disturbance in banking sector will not only disturb the individual depositors' financial position, but also the borrowers, the regulators, and also the government. So it is a responsibility of the Reserve Bank of India to ensure that every bank sound performance and banking system is stable and robust. The Reserve Bank of India now looking at business models of banks. In case they have overexposure to unsecured loans, the Reserve Bank of India don't interfere. Just ask the banks to place it before the risk management committee. So the Reserve Bank of India trying to oversee the exposure of individual banks, and if there is any guidance or suggestion to be given to the banks in performance or in carrying their activities or business models or areas of sectors of loans granted, the Reserve Bank of India will flag up the risk, and the risk has placed before the management committee of the respective bank. It is not the duty of the Reserve Bank of India, that is regulator of banks, to do micromanagement. Supervision of RBI is no more a year of exercise, it is an ongoing process. India continues to be strong but external factors may cause some dent in the economy. So Indian banking sector is strong enough to withstand any disturbance, especially external disturbance. But since the economy is dependent on banking sector, the banking sector has to be strong enough to protect the depositors, investors, entrepreneurs, protect the economy stable and strong. Reserve Bank of India revised its gross domestic product growth estimate for this fiscal year to 6.8% from the earlier 7%. To make it more comfortable for the banks, the Reserve Bank of India has revised its gross domestic GDP growth in estimation from 7% to 6.8%. Of course, there is no big gap between the deposit and credit growth in absolute terms. The base effects make the two growth numbers look divergent. In the year December 22, credit growth in absolute numbers stood at 19 lakhs crore, while the deposit growth was at 17.5 lakhs crores. There is no much disturbance, much gap between the depositors accepted and the loans granted. During the month of December, the deposits accepted was 19 lakhs crore, and in the month of December 22, credit growth was 19 lakhs crore and the deposit growth was 17.5 lakh crore. There is no wide gap between the deposits received and credit given to the borrowers. By advising the individual banks regularly, by supervising the bank's exposure to various sectors, the Reserve Bank of India is intending to flag the risks involved in the sectors where the loans were granted by the banks and to place before the flags of risk before the management committee so that the committee can take decision the management committee can take decisions to be careful, cautious and safe for the performance of the bank strong and robust.